Welcome to episode 2 of the Guile Treatment, the show that talks about what you don't want to see or you want to see, but we don't talk about it anyways. Something like that. Rob came up with it better than I did. So.
No, it's whatever you want us to talk about. We're just going to talk about what we want to anyway.
Yeah,
so.
There you go. Yeah. So,
regardless of what you want, you'll get what we give you.
Yeah, there you go. But don't forget to like us to find out more stuff. But So go ahead and introduce yourselves. Kevin, go ahead, and then Dave.
Yeah, I'm Kevin Broberg. They brought me out, I guess, to the 2017 Player of the Year or something. I don't know, maybe. Am I? I think I am.
I would assume so, right?
Yeah. I play a lot of UFS, so that's why I'm here.
A little bit.
Just a tiny bit. Just a tiny bit.
A little bit, yeah.
The reigning UK national champ.
I don't know though. He definitely is no Vincent Gray champ though, unfortunately. So you gotta bring that back, Kevin, and redeem yourself.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I do to redeem myself. Like I think I have to play Mega Man the next event I play in, just to show you all what it's like.
True. Go ahead, Dave. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Dave Wagoner. I've been playing UFS for approximately forever, and
Give or take.
pretty much plus or minus forever. I don't know. I've got some champ cards here and there, but washed up old has been. But I can still rant about stuff.
There you go. That works. So the show today is going to be about 2017 as a whole in review. It may go a little longer than the normal what we want to keep because we have a bunch of stuff to cover. So Rob, why don't you do you have a thing you want to start us off with? I guess, or Kevin or Dave, any of you guys want to start off? Because I guess we could talk about the OP season or talk about the lack of OP season. I guess.
Kevin? Well, I think we definitely had a PTC every month, and that's not really true for most people who play UFS. I think most people, they get like 2 a year or something, and they might be piled up right next to each other.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, who traveled all over the freaking place, flew to Reno at the end of last year, flew to Vegas at the start of this year, didn't quite fly to all the ones in the middle of the year, but I basically hit every event at the end of like in the center section of the season, starting around in maybe I think April or so is when I went to Davie.
Mm-hmm.
Or Atlanta, but they did run one PDC every month. The start of the year they had some promos too for local organized play, but that fell off. I'm here recording in Sean O'Brien's living room.
Hey, Sean.
At the new UF at the home of roster CCG, and he is over here playing some computer games in the background, so he might comment if I say something funny.
Oh, that's not a problem. One of my biggest issues, the whole PTC once a month was great. I can't complain because Rockford had second highest attendance, so I loved that. But it seemed like the local OP was lacking. Other than like the Grimm Fairy Tale promos we had, we had 4 and then nothing all year.
No. Out of curiosity, I don't remember this. Wasn't the Grimm stuff support at Nationals last year?
It was a preview of them at Nationals last year, and then fully released.
Legal, right?
Then they became legal in January, I believe.
Okay.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
But it was only those 2 cards, right? Just
there was 4. There was 4.
Was there 4?
Yeah. There was an action,
like
Race Against Time,
Yeah.
Explosion, Poison Apple, and Party Crasher.
Yeah, okay. That's right. And Party Crasher.
Correct.
So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was just those 4. Yeah. And I think those were like technically like January. One was legal in January, one was legal in February.
Yep.
And then the next 2 came out and they were legal in March and April, respectively.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that was basically it for the whole year as far as the promotional support goes. Like we had a reasonably good local deal here in Atlanta, but that's because like guys like Keenan took it upon themselves to organize like basically a mini tournament series for that stretched for months basically. It was technically still going on.
It's still ongoing, right? Yeah, you have the finals coming up sometime.
Still one more event.
Jeez, that's crazy. I know that we in Rockford and the Midwest started the whole MCS stuff because of the lack of dates for no OP season.
Yeah, MCS you had one each. Was it like one every 3 weeks or one each month for the first...
I think it ended up being one every 3 or 4 weeks, I believe, and that was thrown together. Actually, the whole thing was Phil Birch's brainchild because he just wanted to play more UFS, which is crazy because people say he's completely negative about the game, but he actually came up with it. So props to Phil Birch, and then he just said, "Chris, people like you more than me, so you just put it together."
You be the face.
You be the face.
Because if it's my idea, no one wants to do it.
Yeah. So then, and that just branched out from there. I think we're going to make some big changes coming in the next series, but that's for another show. But
I think that's really kind of the story of organized play this year. We had relatively isolated JASCO events that generally didn't have streaming. We had nationals and worlds with streaming. I'm sure we're going to talk about those in detail sooner or later here. But each PTC, you got your lists posted, you got your standings posted for your top 8, and that was about it. Mm-hmm. And then we had, as far as UFS as a whole goes, if we're looking at bigger than JASCO, we did a lot of places did have people like Chris Smith and Keenan and Phil Birch. I guess I'm giving Chris Smith the credit for Phil Birch's accomplishment already. We just talked about that. Let's go. So toxic. But if you were in the right place, you got to play more. There would be more UFS organized, but it was kind of an ad hoc basis from whatever someone wanted to put together.
I mean, if we're talking about like prize support for the like lesser stuff like the PTs, I mean, a good change for sure was that the plane ticket was guaranteed.
Absolutely.
I know we last year. What was that? Was it August? For Amsterdam?
Amsterdam, yeah. That was awesome.
And I think they had some other ones. But I know, like, Scott and I came up to that, and then ended up being, like, 12 or 14 people or something like that.
Yeah.
And, like, when you take a weekend and you, like, drive, like, 5 or 6 hours, even if it's only, like, 3 or 4, whatever, like, when you basically take time to go play, and, like, we showed up, other people showed up, and, like, when you just basically miss a cut or something like that, I mean, it kind of sucks because it makes you not really want to go to events. If you're like, I've pretty much like invested all this stuff. It's like I got a hotel room, I did all this. Like, I'm probably not going to win, but there's a possibility that I could get like that plane ticket. So, you go to get the chance to play, to like see some people and everything like that. But there's also that possibility of that you'll get like paid out. And when you completely take that out, like, that was rough. So that was definitely a good improvement, I think. I know there were at least, 2, maybe 3 PTCs?
I know I personally was at 2 where we didn't have 20 people.
At least. Sure. I don't know about Davey.
It was 3 then, Davey.
Okay.
Had like 14.
And, I mean, if you had 3 PTCs out of the, like 12, 14 or whatever they had, I don't know if they had any in Canada, UK, stuff like that. I mean... That'd be pretty rough. I think I'd be interested to see what new spots they have this year. I hope they'll put out the schedule soon. I'm just curious, like, some of the places that got them last year. I mean, I don't know if their groups are still developing, but it might behoove them to like look at some other spots. I feel like some of the more traditional places might be like drying up a little bit, and I know that there are players in like new locations as well. And then I guess on the prize support side, I mean, at a certain point, like you didn't really need more Street Fighter, so that was a little rough too. That's like, at a certain point, you're just like, well, I'm gonna go and get like another box of Street Fighter that I don't need.
Yeah.
So releases like
that's a fabulous segue into kind of one of the big elephants of 2017, I think, which is the release schedule.
Oh yes.
So if you want to. Any last words on OP if you want to move before we move on?
I want to. I know that with us, with OP locally, it was kind of. I ended up coming up with different events to keep it fresh.
Like, those were great.
Like the Robot Masters, actually the Indine's Pit Brawl was another guy who's like, hey, let's just play Indine's characters because he loves Schecter so much, so he wanted to play Schecter the entire event. But it's just I think
and not deal with standard people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I think it sucks that we don't have from JASCO's end prize support for that stuff. But I think that in the future maybe like remember when we had the Red Horizon tournament circuit where they gave away mats and all that stuff? If they did stuff like that, that would be kind of cool. Like you don't have to do it like every month, but at least have one every quarter or whatever. Maybe have like something where you get a set of mats and you're like, hey, or you get extra packs or whatever.
I would like to start seeing what some of the LCGs do for prize support, where it's just alternate art versions of like popular cards.
Yeah.
Right. So, because let's face it, if you've been playing UFS for more than like a year or two, and you're traveling to events, chances are your collection's already pretty full.
Yep.
You don't really need a whole ton of other stuff. You don't need your 38th playmat. Like I've got a stack of them literally like a foot and a half tall in my closet right now.
I beg differ, Dave.
Can't do anything.
You can never have enough.
Right.
You can never have enough.
So, like if you've been in a basement, I mean that thing is like wallpapered with mats.
Yeah, exactly. Like I could line my apartment with at this point, more or less. But like stuff like alternate art cards, something like that, I think would be kind of a cool different take that could get people out. Like look at how big a chase the Cami art was. Right?
Yeah.
And that was within a set.
Yeah.
Right.
That was sweet.
Yeah, and stuff like that's cool. That builds a little bit more excitement. Like, okay, cool, I can go to this event, and maybe I won't place, maybe I won't get tops, but every entrant gets an alternate, like a full art Ryu or something like that.
Or like the 1K stuff where they had like the 8-bit promos of like the different
more
like,
stuff like that.
8-bit Wily is sweet.
Right.
Or like Versus used to do extended arts where it was a full art card.
Yep.
And that
I would like to see stuff like that.
I would love to see that
because that'd be a good way to go.
Because I'd take more prepared to fights that are extended art. $220, guys. $220.
Flood the market.
Yeah. Thanks for mentioning the 1K too, Rob, because I forgot about that in the quick summary there. We also had the one roster CCG 1K this year.
We hear you back there, Sean.
Yeah, shout out. One thing that definitely gets people motivated to play in tournaments is actual cash prize.
Yeah.
Turns out you can have too many playmats. You can never have
enough money.
I mean, absolute worst case, you can wallpaper your apartment with cash. That's a great idea.
But
that's another. But that requires the other problems to be addressed that people would actually want to commit to running these tournaments. I know Sean has gotten burned running cash tournaments before.
Yeah.
Mostly last year, especially.
I know we did one before we go into the release schedule thing. I know that we set one up kind of with Miles with the MCS with the Money in the Bank event, and that came out okay. We didn't really have a lot of. I think the farthest person who came was Tim because Tim flew everywhere this year. So, but it went off pretty well. I would like to see more cash events, maybe not by Jasco, but they may need to be regionally because you're not going to get someone flying in unless they have a bunch of extra money to come in and play UFS for a weekend and maybe win money and break even.
Yeah, it's real hard to break even. I mean, I think that a cash tournament gives you something to compete for. It's something fun to do. It's like it's a good incentive, but like I spent more than $300 on most of my plane ticket vouchers this year. And you can have bigger prizes in a cash tournament too.
So that's little aside. The funniest part about that cash tournament was Thomas Gordon ended up coming in second to Phil, and I think before they played, I think they did chop, but they played unlike some other tournament that happened this year where they rolled dice. But on the way back from the tournament, like Thomas's car like exploded, and he basically used all the money that he won.
Oh man, that's brutal.
That is
like,
rough.
well, at least I got whatever it was from the Money in the Bank. So I'm just gonna dump it all by like 5 cents.
Half of my transmission. Yeah. Oh, that sucks.
All right, so
Gordon is my favorite wandering UFS vagrant. So
I'm going to
surprise me at all.
Yeah, I don't think it's a real UFS event unless Thomas Gordon's there and trying to break the brackets like he always does. He was a big surprise, but we can get into that later. It's Kevin seemed like he wanted to talk about the release schedule a bit.
Yeah, we had such a good segue into it.
Yeah.
I mean, so Blood Omen release December 2016 after a long kind of drawn out process that it was supposed to come out at X time, and then Street Fighter was scheduled to be released sometime in February or March without a hard date. ultimately it finally we had a long spoiler season, and we finally got Street Fighter cards in our hands at the World Championships in May, and then we're able to purchase them not too long after that. Not too long after that, after the point where the boosters hit the shelves, we also got the Turbo
Box.
Turbo Box with Chun-Li and Ryu.
That was June. Yeah, that was like a month
Yeah,
after.
Sounds right. Yeah.
Okay.
And so there was a PTC legal. There was a PTC where Street Fighter was made legal, but not Ryu versus Chun-Li cards, which is kind of wild. And then we had, there was a declaration that Cowboy Bebop would be available in August, and then that became that Capcom Platinum would be released in August, and that became Capcom Platinum will be released later in the year, before the end of the year, and Cowboy Bebop will also be out by the end of the year. And that turned into Capcom Platinum at Nationals as prizes. And Cowboy Bebop now is scheduled for later this month.
A funny thing too is if you guys picked up the Street Fighter versus Darkstalker promos, in the back when you actually read the ad, it said Street Fighter versus Darkstalkers coming 2018 winter. So
2018 or 2017?
No, it was supposed to be this winter, this coming winter, which is how you read the ad. Because I don't know if you'd want it. I guess if you could take it as it's supposed to be winter of next year, but the comic book's starting to end now, so they're kind of missing their window a bit. But I don't know if that was a Capcom thing or an Udon thing where...
Technically, you have 10 days of winter before the end of the year, right?
Yeah, technically, yes.
I think they kind of
real close, yeah.
I mean, there was the video from, what was it, Gamma with Jason, where he was talking about, like, force... Like, I don't think any of us expected there to be four sets. I think, what did he say? He said Street Fighter, and then, like, Mortal Kombat, Cowboy Bebop, and like that was when they announced the Darkstalkers versus Street Fighter, and he said like targeting like Q4 like 2017, and I think a lot of us saw that and we were just like
yeah, okay.
Yeah, I don't think any of us were terribly optimistic when it happened. I don't know if you guys were surprised or kind of just like this is what happened this year. I think it's an important aspect of the year in review that
I was disappointed that we only had one real set this year personally, but like I wish Platinum was done differently, almost to the point where it was tournament packs. So like maybe you get 2 of the old cards and maybe one, kind of like the old KOF packs where you would get like 3 promos or whatever in it, and then like I think that would have been better than just launching a set. But I understand that a lot of mid-level players, not like mid-level as in skill, but just like the kids who had just joined maybe a year to 2 years ago, missed out on some of that stuff. So I understand you have to pump that stuff out, but I don't know.
I know around the Platinum was kind of a little before that. I hadn't realized, and I know a lot of people didn't really realize how hard it was to find some cards in the secondary market. Rolling Uppercut was one I knew about. That card was basically like insane. Like if you could find one and the person kind of realized how, like that person had like struggled to get them themselves, they might charge you $100 for a playset. Yeah. And you'd be like, oh, thank God. And other cards, like I didn't realize Dodge was in that same kind of category of being incredibly hard to find.
We got so many Dodge after we were like, dude, Garrett, like after he was playing that, we were like, this is a great card. We need to just get them now before everyone gets them. And I guess everyone else got them, but
yeah. So Platinum, Oh, go ahead, Dave.
Well, so Platinum's a weird set for me, and I think it's a weird set for because as a long-standing player, right? Like you want to stay current, you want to have access to the new cards and stuff like that, but like the distribution percentages between like new cards in that set versus reprints is just bananas to me, right? Like I know our group personally, and it was basically me spearheading it when we had Nats in Atlanta when they dropped the set. I think I bought a box off of Bo Tucker for whatever he got it for from his team's win, and in my head I'm like, that's the only money I'm spending on this set, because I just traded super aggressively for anything new, literally anything, like commons, rares, it doesn't matter, like because I've already got all that stuff, right? So I'm not going to sink. What was retail on those boxes?
Retail. Well, I sell them for $115 at my store.
Right.
So
Okay,
roughly.
so sure. So call it that. Like
Yeah.
$115 a box for what amounts to getting,
10 or
as an established player, maybe per box, maybe like 30 new cards out of it.
We
give or take?
we
Like,
figured
that's
out.
crazy.
I think it's
So-
like 9 to 12 rares of the new stuff that you'd get out of 48 rares. So
And
you're
that's
look,
insane.
that's
right?
you're
Like,
looking at a fourth quarter, not even. It's just like it's about
like
about a quarter,
25%.
but
Yeah.
still though.
Yeah.
But like you're looking to get play sets of every one of these cards
Right.
because the attacks
lot of
are
those-
bonkers, man.
Yeah, a lot of the new cards in that set are really good.
Yeah.
So as an established player, that set kind of felt like a slap in the face, where it's like, okay, we know you need to stay current, so we know you're going to throw money into this, but you're really not going to get the full value out of it. Like foiling your decks out is cool, like that's fine, but you don't need to do that, right? So
Yeah.
like I said, I've sunk literally 90-ish bucks into platinum, and that's it, and I'm not buying anymore.
I think some of it too. Oh, sorry. I think a little bit of it. I mean, I think we're all biased. I think we have like a bit. You know, I mean, we all have like collections. You know, I know when Scott and I got in, you know, we sort of went really hard to catch up because we got in around like Rise of the Masters, so we had to like track down all the King of Fighters stuff. We got like common, uncommon sets, and then like it's like over time we're able to like pick up some of the rares and ultras.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still stuff from Neomax I don't have. Like,
I don't
we
doubt
have it
that.
all.
Yeah,
And-
and for players in that position, like that set's great, right? Because
And so that's the thing.
it's
I've
full
heard-
format staples, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know, I've heard good things from like some of the newer players who are like, "This is great. I can get all these cards," and like for them, it's good. And it's just, you know, for the people that sort of feel like, well, you know, I've been playing for like a couple years or more. It's
10
like
years.
I already have all this stuff.
Yeah.
So, like, it is
I think-
tough. It's a lot of money for a lot of
For
cards.
not a lot of game. Yeah.
Yeah, like strictly looking at it from like a dollars and cents perspective, like we're not caring about foils, we're not caring about upgrading cards, we're not caring about we're caring about what new cards we get into our collection.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think a lot of that set relies on sort of like new players who are going to get like they're going to open a drill bomb and they're going to be able to trade it to old players for it's going to be the golden ticket. They can get anything they want from people who who don't want to open the set for Serrano Gearies because they already have a place.
And that's exactly like when I was trading during nationals. That's exactly what I was doing. It's like, I'll flip ultras for you know new stuff. I don't care because I've already got it. And was I able to help out a bunch of new players as a result of that? Yes, and I guess in the long run that's pretty good. But from like a pure performance perspective,
it comes across as exploitative. Yeah,
very much so. Yeah, I had a big problem with that.
I think the set's fine. I think the delivery isn't. If that makes sense.
No, I think so too. I think if they'd done a combination of like, kind of like what you were saying with like the promotional packs, like, cool, you enter this tournament, you get one of the new platinum cards and 2 reprints in like a little 3-card pack, something like that. Like, and you do a couple of those per round. I don't know. Maybe that would have made it a little bit more palatable, but yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I wasn't about to drop like my usual, you know, couple $100 plus per set on platinum. It just there's no reason for me to do it.
Yeah, they
if I need
definitely
to
could have
scrape
made
out
it.
singles, I can scrape out singles, but
They definitely could have made it more exploitative. Like I like that they gave us 2 rares per pack. Like there were only 1 layer of rarity, so there weren't uncommons or ultra rares.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like if you do the math, this is like
it's pretty
60% of a normal set, and you get a lot less than a normal set's worth of new cards to play with.
I think if you'd seen ultras in that set, you would have had almost open revolt. Like that would have been brutal. So,
I think though it was geared towards like it wasn't really geared towards us though, like the established players. It was really for fledgling newer groups like take Barry's group down in Mississippi. They buy cards like crazy because they want to catch up.
Yeah.
That allows them to. I have players in Rockford who have never owned Dust in the Wind, so that they bought 2 boxes. Like I told them I've given away all my Dust in the Winds. I own 6 now, so you have to buy this set because I can't give you any more.
I'm fresh out.
I'm fresh out. Like I was giving Caught Red-Handeds away as prize support because I had these guys didn't have them. So that card's another topic I don't even want to get into. But I think that platinum. like you guys said, it was the delivery towards the older players that it seemed like it was a little rough for us. But I get where Jasco was coming from because there's going to be this giant. They're going to have an influx of players from Bebop and MK. They're planning on
And Street
getting
Fighter,
and Street
honestly.
Fighter,
That's-
honestly,
that's-
yeah.
Well,
Say what you will about the quality of that set, like it's still a huge license, right? And
Yeah.
that definitely got people back into the game, like 100%. So like, do I think like Platinum was like a huge disaster or anything like that? No, I think that's being not fair at all. But the only perspective I like, Atlanta's a weird play group, right? Like most of our play group is very long established, and we do have newer players, but generally speaking, we've been able to outfit them kind of as they come in.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, Platinum wasn't as big a deal, but for some like you guys up in Rockford or some of the more kind of getting their feet underneath in play groups that needed access to this stuff, like that set's great. I don't know. I think we've probably beaten that horse plenty at this point.
I just want to throw in one good word about Platinum is I was really surprised by how excited I was to get like foil copies of Balance Fighter. The cards all look amazing. They have little stuff like Glacial Assault getting foiled with the little snowflake pattern.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of nice little touches that made me happy when I.
I bling the hell out of my decks with what I got.
Oh yeah. Don't take us the wrong way.
Like,
we love to bling our decks out.
I just wanted to throw that one in there. That was sweet. Like I like that part of it.
There you go. So if any of the Jasper guys watch this, what you could do is you could just have the PTC season next year. You could maybe do like platinum packs, like you had for the Darkstalkers packs, like when they couldn't get the ultras for that. Maybe just 2 or 3 of like the cards, just toss them on penny sleeve. Oh, hey Sean.
Hi, creepy Sean.
Oh,
he can't hear you.
Here. Okay.
I know that kind of back on the platinum / OP train. I did for Rockford. I was able to procure platinum packs. At first, they weren't going to give them to me, but then I was like, well, you could just upcharge me a bit, and that's fine. And they did that, and that's awesome that they accommodated me. Because I was able to give out platinum packs for final rounds for Swiss. And then whatever platinum I had left over, I just gave it away at the Robot Masters event for entry prizes. Yeah. So that was kind of neat.
Those are
quiet,
great
Rob. You won the
prize
event,
packs,
so I'd just be quiet.
For sure. Like, Platinum is an awesome prize support set.
Oh, yes.
Definitely. It's really fun to open packs, so that's like even now when I have all the cards that I could ever need.
So I want to
Balance Fighter.
So getting off the platinum train, me and Rob in our first episode talked about champ cards as a whole. I don't know if any of you guys want to add anything into the 2017 set of champ cards. Anything that surprised you? What do you think? Obviously, the best card is pulled my trigger, and what maybe the worst card.
Really good.
Like there's certain cards that aren't seeing a lot of play. Like Kevin's character, Phil's character, stuff like that. Like what do you guys think going forward, or what do you think of the year in whole as champ cards went?
Robert, you want to fire off?
Yeah,
on
sure.
this one?
I'll jump in. So like just as far as year in reviews goes, we had we had our first champ rotation on like the normal schedule. I think this year we're in June. Like Jeremy Ray's character and
Golden Ticket.
Golden Ticket, but
Sweet Baby.
What's Garrett's foundation name? Yeah.
Oh, my Joker and me, myself, or
Joker
something.
And you, those cards all rotated out, and simultaneously we got a huge dump of cards dating back to 2009. The finally released was UK's finest, and a bunch of my cards from 2013 and whatever. And immediately after that, like the next tournament. Jeremy Ray won with Keith Disbro, which was a newly released card. I know Shane and Jason, or I know from getting my cards designed, they wanted to try to reduce the power level of the champs. And I think mixed record there, let's say, as Keith Disbro is still clearly an absolutely tier 1 deck. And I think availability was also a significant story for these. The UK cards took a long time.
So many UK cards.
Yeah, I think over half the set's UK.
Yeah, and it was hard to get those cards for a long time. Even with the efforts of the community to ship them to a U.S. based distribution hub that could then you could then buy them from Sean. And that's even if those cards did get across the pond in the first place. So I know Grant Padley was shown to events before I'd seen a copy of it in my own hands. So I think that's going to be part of the story for Champ Cards this year. On top of just like pulled my trigger, now having won several tournaments, Keith this rogue Grant Padley showing up consistently and winning and getting second place and all this stuff.
Shows you how good Yimmer Fang was back in the day, and everyone slept on it. But no, I don't think I can add more to what Broberg said. I think he covered it pretty well. Like the power level variance in the Champ Cards, it's like you've got just like I said, you've got Disbro as clearly the best character out of the batch that got released, and Trigger's an insane asset. I know I've run into really really good effect in a number of decks. And what's Marco's Foundation?
Badger Club.
Oh, Badger Club.
That card's really good too. Badger Club is nuts. Those three, I think, are the standouts.
Did Marco pay you for that placement?
The fact that I forgot the name of the card should tell you.
That's fair.
But no, seriously, like those three are good. Probably my top three as far as the champs go. I think the bigger surprise is like, I know when we were looking at Phil's character at the start, we were like, man, like Power the Edge on a stick is really good. Like that's a really strong ability, and he just turned out to be not that great. And maybe that's just because he was so overshadowed by Keith, who does some similar stuff just better. But
I never thought of that. I know that this has been kind of one of the sort of weird things that keeps happening is that we got a teaser of Phil Birch, and then we all crapped our pants, and then his final version has maximum 5 on his enhance.
It's like, oh, that's not as bad. Yeah.
And then, I mean, I'm not sure if that's how much that really changes it. Like -5 is still an enormous number, and if you're getting up to like 8 or 9 or 10, like you probably still kill him with +5 at that point.
Probably still doing some good stuff there.
Yeah.
But yeah, like just the fact that he didn't make as big an impact as I think, but a couple of us predicted is my biggest surprise, I guess. Like, I'm not surprised Keith is good. You took one look at that character. It's like, okay, yeah, he's kind of crazy. Like, Grant Padley's like upper tier. I don't think he's like S tier, like super top tier or anything, but he's consistent.
Yeah, I didn't realize with Keith quite the implication of +4 to your checks over a turn cycle if you play 2 attacks. Yeah,
that's pretty strong. Yeah, like I said, other than that, as far as like we had our issues, actually, same deal as you guys, getting a hold of the UK champ cards. We were pretty lucky in Atlanta because we were able to kind of swap champ card for champ card with them and just ship some back overseas and stuff like that. But our group is kind of unique in that regard, and ours are about to rotate. So we can't ride the Drew Maffei line buddy is kind of overpowered train for too much longer. But that has helped us out quite a bit. But yeah, other than that, I think Kevin kind of hit the nail on the head.
Can I ask you guys one question about the champ cards?
Yeah, so go nuts.
Now that we're doing, if we're sticking to this cycle of every 2 years, like what do you, I mean, I guess it's a bit off now, but because they've pretty much cleared out like the backlog, like what do you think, like going forward when, I mean, I guess next year, basically like the new champ batch is going to be like 4 or 5 cards?
Probably. Yeah.
And so like what? Forward, I mean, you could get to a point where like there's only going to be like, 8, 10, 9, 10 champ cards legal at any given point.
Honestly, I'm a big fan of that. I think that's good for the game. I think when you have a pool, God, I don't even know how many champ cards are legal and standard right now, but it's got to be close to like 20,
it's a lot.
Right?
It's over 20.
It's too many in my mind, right? Like, and I say that as somebody who has 3 of those in the pool at the moment. Like, if you want to make that prize really feel special, you need to have it be like, okay, you have 2 world champions that are legal at any given time. right? You have 2 U.S. Nationals champions that are legal at any given time. Same deal with teams. Same deal with all those formats. When you've got like stuff dating back to 2009 because of a number of reasons, like when I got to go around and collect 20 different champ cards just to retain like a full collection, like
it absolutely
that's
dilutes the
daunting,
meaning of
right?
all of them.
It does, yeah. So if they do stick to this rotation where it's you've got maybe like 6 to 8 champ cards legal per cycle, like I think that's good. I have no problem with that at all. And honestly, that incentivizes like if you're like me, whose champ card's about to rotate, right? And like, man, I'd really like to get another one so I can get back and have my face on cardboard and still be standard relevant. Like, okay, that might incentivize me to like take the game more seriously and actually stick with it, that kind of thing. And granted, that's like a very niche thing. Like, oh yeah, right. I'm a returning champ. I'd love to get another card. But like that kind of lights a fire under people too. It's like, cool, I can be the only world champion legal or one of 2 world champions legal for the next 2 years. Like that's cool. Like that feels really special. Whereas now it's like I'm one of like 9 or something crazy, like 9 or 10 standard legal characters that are champions. Like
a third of them is Garrett, but it's okay. You know.
Yeah, and 4 of those are Garrett. But whatever.
Yeah, I definitely. I have no problem with a 2-year cycle. I have no problem with there being fewer of them in the format, especially as the backlog clears out. Those seem mostly beneficial. The only I think there's kind of a weird point where the set rotation is so disconnected, and so it's just kind of like actually one of the things that happened this year that's kind of a weird offbeat story is that in the Rochester PTC, the first event after the champ rotation. One person registered with golden ticket in their deck.
I remember hearing about that.
So what the TO came up with was that he was disqualified, and they let him re-register with a round 1 loss because it was the end of round 1. Okay. And so that player got to still play in the PTC, still play in the event. But it was a really awkward thing where just that the communication of the card legality was tricky, and kind of if you look at I know I spend a bunch of time looking at old tournament results, and I like reading old tournament reports, and just kind of the degradation of the importance and quality of those. I think it's not nothing. It's not very much either, really, in the grand scheme of things. But it's something that like we're not playing the same format we were 6 months ago because the champions rotated.
Right.
And I'll springboard off of that a little bit too. I think one of the bigger reasons why this backlog happened. Like, Jasco in general has to put a time limit on getting your card designed, right? If you're a champion and you say, okay, cool, you won Worlds whenever Worlds rolls around to, right? All right, you got 2 or 3 months to get your card pinned down. That includes artwork, that includes design, so we can get it to print as fast as possible. That way we're not waiting for, and granted, this is like ideal scenario, right?
Dave Wagner, you're stressing me out, man.
I know, and I should be but that's the thing, right? Like you're not going to get a good rotation of that if that time frame isn't adhered to, because like my champ card was from 2014 and it didn't get printed until like 2 years later, give or take, something like that. And you can even go like 2009, like that's bananas. That's absurd. That's over half a decade. Like that's crazy. Like we don't need to be doing that. Like there has to be some sort of accountability put in place. Like, cool, you won this thing, great, get to work. Like we need to get this. We need to get this out so players can play with it because we have a schedule that we need to adhere to. And I think that would be a step in the right direction. As far as not having this giant glut of champ cards in at one time. So anyway. Also, six set standard, not 10, because fuck that. But that's a whole different thing.
So let's talk about that. With the advent of Street Fighter being in, we finally got a third of the dreaded KOF block out of standard. So, KOF 13 left with Street Fighter coming in. It's just I think we can this kind of goes around with set releases, is that there comes a point where it is 5 years too long for cards to be in the format.
Yes.
Perfect world, absolutely.
Yeah, of 100%. Course. Yeah, of course. So I think that's what I know, like I've been talking with Shane, and we all talk to Shane all the time about stuff. So it kind of seems like he's like our sounding board sometimes. But I have faith in him that we're gonna eventually iron this thing out. Maybe this year, I'm hoping, because last year was supposed to be the year that we were supposed to iron this all out. But things happen from behind the scenes or whatever. But I am one of those who hope that MK comes out before Worlds this year. I'm hoping, even though it may hurt my wallet a bit, but I'm okay with that because I want Neomax gone. So I still want to do.
That's the dream that the entire community has, is that we don't have another event with Nimbos and Athena legal.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're getting rid of Psyche. I know. I'm sorry, Kevin. Psyche's going sometime next month, so we have a date.
I'll pour one out for him too.
Yeah, we should.
I love that character.
And then, so
I mean, they gave me Vega. Like I don't.
Yeah, that's true.